like to call this meeting of the Town of Black Mountain, April 9th, 2018 to order, and if we will stand, pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we had a gentleman who was coming to do our invocation. Don't see him in attendance. And if we could, Jamie Matthews, if you'll come in and fill in for him, please.
Let us bow our heads. Heavenly Father, we just come before you tonight, Lord. Lord, just to seek your praise, Lord, and to seek your guidance, Lord. Just ask you to be with us tonight, that you'd lead, guide us, and direct us, Lord. And just ask we would have your wisdom in every decision that's made, Lord. Ask you to be with our council members and our mayor, Lord, that you would lead and guide and direct them, Lord. And we just give you all the praise in everything we do. And we just ask this in your precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Announcements. The only announcement I have is to remind everybody that we have boards and commissions that we need to apply for. We have spots on every single board and commission that's open and available. And you need to turn in your paperwork by 5/18 to the town clerk. And next item is a proclamation and award recognition for Gay Curry Fox. We have a little issue where her family is not here yet, so I'm going to withhold that until she gets here. All right, citizen comments. One of them is Lisa Milton, and Lisa, it says water transfer agreement. Do you want to hold that comment until we have the new business talking about that? Okay. All right. No other citizen comments. Folks have signed up, so we'll do our annual Recreation Parks report. Casey Connor.
Mayor, Board, thank you for having me up here this evening. Just a little blow up of our logo there. Each one of those colors represents one of the areas that we program. Usually the Greenways one is green, but it didn't show up very well on the white, so I went with black. But kind of shows you the thought behind our logo and how we came about with that logo. This year we have worked very heavily on our CAPRA accreditation, which is the Commission for Accreditation of Parks and Recreation Agencies. That was a very thorough process that we went through, and so we've got a lot of new numbers this year from that process. One of the ones here is the total interactions in programs. And the interactions are the number of people in our programs and times the number of meetings that we had. So for example, our indoor soccer, it was the number of practices, the number of games, you multiply that out, and that's the total number of interactions that we had with that individual for that program. That number does not count passive park users. It does not count phone calls to our department, and it does not count walk-ins. So this year, as you can see, it continues to grow. We're at 83,000 this year. With our athletics, a couple things that we've been able to bring back: our Atlanta Braves baseball trips, the NFL flag football, adult dodgeball, and the adult softball is getting ready to start. So if you guys want to get a team together, we still have room. Also there you can see the youth sports chart. The indoor soccer is the blue bar, and the youth basketball is the orange bar. As you can see, the youth soccer, indoor soccer continues to grow. We're having to get creative with space over there and making sure that everybody's got plenty of time for for practices and games. Basketball seems to have kind of evened out. You will get periodic, dips to it, but for the most part, it's stayed that way for quite a few years. The health and wellness, our department is in charge of health and wellness for the town. This past year, we had people involved in the Wear Red Day. As you can see the picture of Brittany there, decked out in all red. That's for heart health, heart awareness. We also had employee health fair here in this room that was very well attended. And we also had an icky lunch and learn, which seems kind of silly, but it was just kind of highlighting germs and germ prevention in the workplace and other areas of your life. So that was very successful as well. Garden programs. Let's see. We have almost 100 registered gardeners this year. Many of those people do share plots, but we're getting close to being full with all of that. We do have a few spots still available at the Carver Gardens, and as you can see, we had over 450 garden volunteers this year, over 4,000 pounds of donated food, and almost 1,500 hours of volunteer time through the garden program. So this is a chart to highlight the volunteer hours and the pounds of food. As you would expect, the pounds of food stays relatively flat, but there are variations from year to year because of either what we're growing or because of the weather that we're having. And the volunteer hours, we've got a new volunteer program as part of the accreditation process, and so we're really hoping that we're going to be able to get those numbers to creep back up higher than what they have been the past couple of years.
Does 100% of the food go to Bounty and Soul?
Most of it does. I'm not sure if it's 100% or not.
I was wondering where else it went if it didn't go.
Yeah, so the majority of it does. Yeah. All right, the active aging programs. We have continued with our monthly movie program that has been very successful. Our lunch site continues to be very popular. We've got a couple new exercise classes, a couple new yoga classes, and we're continuing to take Van Clan trips, as many as 3 a month. So, our special events, we've had the Valentine 5K race, Circle of Lights, Mini Monster Fest, and our movies in the park. We had 2 movies in the park last year that were very well received. We had 600 people between the 2 movies, and this year we're expanding it to 5 movies. And one of the reasons that we're able to do that is because the sponsors, we've had quite a few sponsors that have approached us about helping offset that cost, but we still are looking for a couple more. So if there are any sponsors out there, yeah, give me a call. Let's see, some of our seasonal facilities. Our pool attendance last year was 17,000. Our swim team, we had 130 kids on the swim team, which again, it's kind of like soccer. It's a good problem to have, but things are getting really crowded, and we're having to get creative with time for the facility. We had 31 teams in the youth indoor soccer. I put that up there to kind of translate the number from the number of participants to the number of teams that we had. And then we had 187 Gray Eagle rentals. This is the pool trends. These are expenditures per day and revenue per day. It was easy to break it down like this because the season can vary so widely with the number of days that we're open. This summer, for example, is going to be a short summer. because the kids are getting out of school late and they're going back to school early. So rather than having just the total figure up there, it's easier to break it down per day, and that way you can see what it's actually costing each day that we're open, or what we're bringing in each day. The Gray Eagle Arena trends. This is our bounce house rentals. We started these in 2015, and as you can see, they are continuing to grow. We're expecting to do about 90 this year, and that we've actually just added Nerf battle parties, where we've got obstacles in there, and the kids can bring in their Nerf launchers and have a battle. So those have already been very popular. Let's see some of the upcoming events. Pool opening. This is going to be the 10th season of our new swimming pool. It's kind of hard to believe, but yes, 10 years. The swim team, again, we're going to be taking sign-ups for that next week, and that will go through the beginning of summer. We're also offering 2 lifeguard classes this year, the first weekend in May and the third weekend in May. Park Rhythms, June through August, we've got 8 concerts. Again, the outdoor movie night, it's going to be the second Friday from May till September. Over the next few weeks, you'll see we're going to be launching our sponsorship drive, our yearly sponsorship drive, which will be going for about 6 weeks. The Nerf battle parties already mentioned. The Summer Adventures, our summer camp. We sold out of our summer camp in just a few hours this year. One of the things we're doing towards the end of the summer this year is experimenting with doing some larger groups and figuring out what kind of logistical problems that creates. And so hopefully we'll be able to expand those next year to have some more spaces for the kids. The July 4th street dance and fireworks, obviously on July 4th. And then also we do our annual volunteer, we call it a thankwit. It's a thanks banquet. So we just combined it, and that'll be May 24th this year at Lakeview. That is the end of my presentation. Anybody have any questions?
I know it's only halfway through the fiscal year, but maybe you or Dean can kind of estimate, where do we stand as far as revenue in the department right now? Are we looking really good?
Recreation revenues are coming in nicely this year. There's a lot of good rental revenue and the programs. I mean, the activity that Casey talks about, you can see it in the revenue numbers, just that they're much higher than past years. So, yeah, the revenue numbers are good.
What would you say is the normal rental fee at Gray Eagle?
For a resident, it is $40 an hour, and for a non-resident, $60 an hour. But we also do some different packages with the bounce house parties, with all-day rentals and things like that. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 187 rentals, that could be maybe an average of what, maybe 2 hours rental?
It varies widely. Some people will use it, just for an hour.
Mm-hmm.
And with the youth soccer teams in town, we actually give them a deal. If it's raining outside on a day like today, they can call us up and they can actually use it for $10. So it varies in cost, and it varies in different usage. So.
How about the ball fields? Have we been having any tournaments played yet?
We had one, and we've got 2 more lined up. Little League has actually just recently changed their schedule, and so it's freed up a lot of weekend dates, and so we're looking to add some more of those.
Okay, good deal. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Casey, where do we stand as far, give us an update on the the daycare and the recreation design team that they, their meetings. Where are we at on that?
The Asheville Design Center is doing that for us. We met with them on February 9th. There were quite a few representatives from different user groups that we identified in the park. The disc golf group, the greenways, the rec commission, gardens, department staff, as well as a couple other people were able to be there and give them some preliminary input. They are working on primary concepts right now. They will present those back to us and kind of refine those concepts. And then at that point, then they'll have some final concepts that we'll be able to take to the public and get public input on at that point.
And Casey, just so we're clear, that'll include the community garden and the daycare design as they fit together on that piece of property. Is that
Yes.
that's what they're trying to do?
Yes. Yep.
Thank you. Anything
Right.
else? Thank you, Kate.
Thanks.
All right, our annual Recreation Commission report. I don't think Terry is here, so who's going to be doing that?
She's here.
Oh. Yeah. Well, I was going to wait till
Oh, you're waiting till the- okay.
Yeah, I'll do it right before.
Right, thank you. First of all, thank you, Mayor Collins, Vice Mayor Tuttle, and the Alderman for having me here tonight. My name is Daniel Bennett. I'm the Vice Chair. Terry is out of town and she was not able to be here tonight, so I'll be presenting in her absence. And I'd also like to take this opportunity just to thank you all. We've been here for about 4 years now. We moved here specifically to find a small town to live in, so we try to get involved as much as we can, give back, have a voice, and this is a great outlet for it, especially with a young child. We utilize a lot of the parks and all of the things that the town sponsors, so it's great to be involved with that, so thank you. So this past year, the Recreation Commission has assisted and supported the department with a variety of different projects, a lot of them pertaining to the accreditation that Casey was talking about, developing policy and procedures for standard operating guidelines, develop area and facility development guidelines, basically just to streamline how everything functions, how everything works, programming, community relations, and marketing, just kind of setting up a baseline for everything. And we've had input back and forth. They do the work, we try to help fine-tune things as needed. We also wanted to take this opportunity to remind everybody that the monthly meetings between the Recreation Commission and the department are open to the public. Very rarely do we have any public attend, but we'd like to encourage people to come out, sit in, see what's going on, voice their opinion, kind of input with us. The Recreation Commission has also assisted and supported the department with activities for the senior center. They rolled out a new memorial park bench for Lake Tomahawk, trying to revitalize the benches that are on Lake Tomahawk, get those sponsored, get it looking better. And again, like I said, we've already supported them with the accreditation, which benefits both the department and the town of Black Mountain. There's no other town the size of Black Mountain that is nationally accredited, so if this goes through, it'll be a kind of a landmark for the department and the town. We've also had input for future planning for new parks or areas of activities such as the Hemp Hill property, which I'm not sure where we are on that, if anything's even been decided, but it's good to have reaching out, developing new areas as the need grows, as the town grows, as well as being involved with all of the changes at the Carver Center, seeing how that's been changing and growing and developing into something new. And as most people are happy about the continued reduction of the birds at Lake Tomahawk, especially having a young child running around there all the time. And we, the commission, we also support and would like to thank all of the staff at the Parks and Recreation Department, both full-time and part-time, for everything that they do, make all the activities happen, both the planning and making everything to come to fruition. Without them, none of this would happen. So we'd like to thank you and all of them that aren't here. So pass that along. I think that's all we have on here. Thank you all for your time and your service and support. Anybody have any questions? Okay.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.
All right, let's do the annual beautification report.
Thank you for inviting us here tonight to give our annual Black Mountain Beautification Committee report. The Black Mountain Beautification Committee has been serving Black Mountain community for 18 years. Our mission and vision statements guides us and inspires us to all of our activities. Our mission statement reads, "The people of Black Mountain possess a cherished tradition of honoring the natural beauty of the surrounding mountains, all the while seeking to reflect that beauty on the streets and in the lives of our citizens." As our committee works around town, either in garden sites or tending to new plant containers, we receive praise from locals and visitors about how nice the town appears. We are often asked how we get so much accomplished. That person may only see us as one committee, but we have the support from all of you and public services, plus many other people that we don't have time to mention. Our committee has approximately 60 Black Mountain residents who are members. This represents a 25% increase in our membership since our presentation last year. Our committee members are active in many ways, whether they attend monthly meetings, work days, caretakers of garden sites, fulfilling executive officer duties, or working on other projects. Our members are the backbone of the Beautification Committee, and without them, our ideas would not take root. Here are just a few of the things that we have accomplished this fiscal year. We maintain 21 garden sites in town throughout the year. We have approximately 10 people dedicated to maintaining town square garden beds. This means weeding, mulching, watering the beds. We ask all of our committee members to come to our Spread the Mulch party in the spring. We do our best to have a weed-free 4th of July and kick the fall off with a general cleanup of the beds. With the approval of the Appalachian Regional Commission, or ARC grant, we are partnering and working with you to fulfill this grant. Through our Consistent Look project, we have installed 32 plant containers throughout the historic district, designed seasonal mini gardens in the 32 plant containers, and maintain them weekly with the help of public services watering each container. Work with the Swannanoa Correctional Center for Women, who grow some plant materials for town square gardens. We sponsored and welcomed locals and visitors to our 12th annual Black Mountain Garden Show and Sale. Through our fundraising, we sponsored the seed money grants. This year, the awards were given to the Old Depot Association and the gardeners at St. James Episcopal Church. Have you seen our monthly column in the Black Mountain News? We have knowledgeable gardening writers who educate and encourage others to our gardens. Our articles are even getting extra attention as they're being published in the Asheville Citizen-Times. Most people think it's fall when the leaves change colors, but we see it as when our fun crows, Rocky and Rockette, appear in town squares and the welcome areas. They were not the only crows in town this year, as we have a new generation of fun kids too. We partnered with the Black Mountain Primary School to create the Fun Kids. Before the Holly Jolly weekend started, we decked the garden sites, town square, and welcome areas with greenery, roping, and bows to bring the spirit of the holidays to the town. Last, but most importantly, we clean up our town through the spring and fall litter sweep, where we partner with Kiwanis Club and other local organizations, which spring litter sweep is coming up Saturday. All these activities take time and financial support. We worked approximately 2,500 hours a year. This represents a contribution of just over $18,000 at minimum wage. With the funds that we receive from you and Town Square Committee, we are able to maintain the 21 public garden sites and Town Square. However, to supplement all our projects, such as the 32-plus plant containers, seed money awards, and holiday decorating, we have fundraisers and receive donations. Our fundraisers include the 13th Annual Black Mountain Garden Show and Sale coming up on May 19th, the clothesline sale at the garden show. If you want a beautification committee member to come weed your garden for you, just come to the garden show and you can purchase that service from us. Proceeds from a holiday greenery fundraiser pay for all the holiday greenery and bows that you see throughout town. Being an affiliate organization of the Parks and Greenway has enhanced our fundraising opportunities. Members of the Beautification Committee, along with citizens of Black Mountain, family, and friends of the Black Mountain Beautification Committee have contributed to our work. What are our projects looking forward? Continue all the projects that I've just mentioned. Working extensively with the town on the logistics of the ARC grant to ensure we are meeting all of our requirements. This spring, the Cherry Street restroom building will receive a fresh coat of paint by Pat Ward, and then a mural will be painted by Joyce Blackworks. We always say that our committee works well with others, and we could not do all that we have done without the town of Black Mountain, Jamie Matthews and his crew at Public Services, the Swannanoa Correctional Center for Women, the Urban Forestry Commission, Kiwanis Club, the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses of Black Mountain, the Monte Vista Hotel, Rainbow Recycling, and Black Mountain News. As mentioned earlier, we have received recognition from our work in many ways, such as from you as we were working together on the ARC grant. Urban Forestry Commission, as they publicly thanked us during Arbor Day celebration. From locals and visitors for tending to our garden sites and containers. Letters and emails from locals, especially Bob Headley. On the street during Fall Decorating Day, a resident stopped by to thank us and gave our committee a donation. We even had some New Jersey girls stop by the chamber when we were decorating for fall to help us decorate the visitor center. So the town also received recognition by being featured in the March edition of Our State magazine. It was wonderful seeing our town and business owners pictured in the essay, but especially striking was the picture of Town Square. Our mountains and community embrace us all, and that is why we see visitors come, new businesses join, and new residents live in Black Mountain. In this day and age, the inclusiveness of our community is unique and special. This is why we all call Black Mountain our home, and we'd like to thank you for your continued support. Does anyone have any questions?
Nope, just a big thank you from the whole board. We appreciate you.
You know, Angela, do we have a date for the appreciation luncheon? It's a good time to mention it after these two presentations.
My announcement, so now you've taken one of my announcements.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But the timing's good, though.
That's right, the timing does seem right. So there will be an appreciation luncheon on May the 25th at the Lakeview Center, and so we hope that everybody gets a chance to come out that has worked so diligently during the year to volunteer their time, and we certainly appreciate the Beautification Committee for their efforts. And I will reiterate that the ARC grant that was mentioned, the Appalachian Regional Commission grant, we were considered a model for the collaborative effort that went into that. Angela worked very hard. Beautification worked very hard with the Swannanoa Valley Correctional Center for Women, and with the vendors downtown, and private artists that put that work together, and for the consistent look that we're still working on, but that we're really pleased with, and we have been considered a model for that. But you're right, Larry. May 25th at the Lakeview Center, we are excited about our appreciation dinner for all boards and commissions, including the Beautification Committee.
Okay. If it's okay with the board, I'd like to go ahead and start doing the consent agenda. Let's do the proclamation for Ms. Gay Curry Fox. And if Ms. Fox's daughter will step up here, please. Proclamation for Gay Curry Fox, April 2018. Whereas the town of Black Mountain community mourns the loss of our friend and devoted servant, Gay Curry Fox, who lived a life filled with vision, wisdom, determination, faithfully serving the citizens of Black Mountain as town alderwoman for 2 terms, December 1981 and November 1985. Whereas through her years of selfless service, our town and valley have benefited from Gay's vision, leadership, and concern for her fellow citizens. And whereas in addition to her service to many community organizations, Gay served as founding and longtime board member of the Black Mountain Valley, Dr. Martin Luther King, this one about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. prayer breakfast, and was instrumental in the conversion of the old town hall into the Black Mountain Center for the Arts. Whereas, while serving as Alderwoman, she spearheaded the radical transformation of Lake Tomahawk Park, converting it into a town jewel. The recreation hub of the community initiated the establishment of a professional recreation parks department and was instrumental in reviving the Carver School on 2 occasions. And whereas Gay will be missed by all those lives she touched during her life, especially the members of this board, her contributions will forever serve as an example of untiring and dedicated public service. Now, therefore, I, Donald S. Collins, Mayor of the Town of Black Mountain, and the Board of Aldermen, express sincere appreciation for her tireless volunteerism, political activism, unselfish and dedicated service, and recognize the significant impact of her visionary ideas that continue to contribute to the town of Black Mountain community. Thank you. All righty, on to the consent agenda. Matt?
The only thing you have on the consent agenda tonight is the adoption of minutes from your March 8th agenda session. You've got some closed session minutes and your regular session minute from March 12th.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent item A as presented?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Passes 5-0. Now on to citizen comments for new business only. Lisa, this will be, you're up.
Thank you. I'm Lisa Milton, 406 West State Street. I also serve on the planning board, and I was particularly interested in the water transfer agreement because of the fact that we have so much growth and so much potential development that seems to be coming into town. And it's critical we have water for our current residents as well as the ability to draw future residents and businesses. So I had a couple of questions on the draft agreement, and you may have addressed those, or hopefully they'll get answered during this process, or if not, maybe later. The draft agreement that refers to it's number 10, the relationship to wholesale water transfer. It states that the agreement doesn't change or modify any of the parties' obligations contained within the wholesale water purchase. And when you go to the current water agreement, it discusses that Black Mountain may renegotiate the fixed volume amount upward with the city anytime during the terms of the agreement upon a 30-day written notice to the director, who shall negotiate in good faith within 30 days of receiving the request for the new fixed volume amount. But then when we go to the Second Amendment with the City of Asheville, and on the draft, there is some replacement of language in that. And it replaces the language with respect to upping our volume of water purchased from them. And it says that under Section B4, the agreement shall be revised to read, I won't read all of it, but it says Black Mountain may renegotiate the fixed volume amount upward with the city anytime during the term of this agreement upon a 30-day written notice to the director. If the requested amount is available and the city can provide the additional quantity without affecting the city's commitment to its other customers regarding quantity, pressure, or quality, as determined in the sole discretion of the city, the director shall negotiate in good faith within 30 days. And to me, this appears that if the city of Asheville has a shortage of water, which when would be appeal to the city, it could well be when we are short on water. They have the sole decision making as to whether they will up our water purchase. And I don't know if that's, if there's other terms in this whole thing that I missed, but to me that limits really where our ability is to increase if we have an industry coming in that needs more water. We're limited there. I had a couple of questions with regards to the location of the pump. It showed that it was on the Highway 70 town property where the street department will move from. And I didn't know if locating the pump there is now going to maybe impede the sale of that property, or if it can be done without any impediment to that. And one other question was in the discussions we had early on at the planning board. Okay, thanks.
All right, new business. Agreement for the transfer of water distribution system from the city of Asheville. Matt?
And I'll speak briefly on that, and I'll try to answer some of Lisa's questions, which I think are certainly pertinent to the discussion. So let me start off by telling you where we are with water. Currently, we obviously provide water to the customers in Black Mountain with ground wells and purchased from the city of Asheville. We have 12 wells, 10 in the watershed, one at the golf course and one at Vance Avenue. We generate around 550,000 gallons of water per day. In the last, well, I'm not going to guess on the number of years here, but I'm going to say in the last 25 to 30 years, we've had 9 wells that we've either tried to drill or been shut down because they didn't produce water. I think we're at a we're at a critical mass where the water purchase or the water generation for the customers in Black Mountain and for the growth of Black Mountain to continue to make us a viable and thriving community is important, and this is the time to do it. There are months in the summer, and I don't want to over exaggerate the importance of it, but there are months in the summer where we really are close to the capacity of what the town can produce and can buy, because the way we have it set up with Asheville now, and it's just the way that it is. We have a valve that we can turn on, but because of the nature of the way our system connects to Asheville system, there's only certain times of the day that it can be turned on, or it impacts other parts of Asheville system or parts of our system. There's a limit to what we can. There's obviously a limit to what we can purchase from the city of Asheville, but not just agreement wise, but also logistically from what we can use from the city of Asheville. What we have been fortunate to be a part of is a grant from Golden Leaf and the EDA that will ultimately serve the Avatum industry at the Commerce Park, but has been the jumping off point for an agreement between the city of Asheville and the town of Black Mountain on the transfer of some lines and the purchase of additional water. I think one of the questions that Lisa had asked was about the pump station. Yes, the pump station needs to be located on the site, on the property that we currently own. That may or may not create a limitation. We've got pump stations on other people's property as it stands now that generates water throughout town. It would simply require an easement to put that on their property. I'm sorry, Larry.
Let me ask a clarifying question, Matt. Of the 550 gallons a day that our system,
550,000, yes,
500 that our system produces, that does or does not include the water we purchase.
I think that also includes. That does not include. That's our water purchase.
That's
what we purchase.
Our system's 500,000 gallons a day.
What we can produce.
What we can produce, and then
we're purchasing.
Is that what gets metered? The 500,000 a day?
Yes, it is metered. Yes, that's what comes straight out of the well.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's additional water then, of course, that we purchase from the city of Asheville.
Right.
Yes.
Well, what I'm trying to get at is the water we lose.
Well, we
Because
purchased about close to 200,000 from Asheville, and I think our loss rate of what we produce is at about 25.
25%.
Yeah, which I would add is somewhat average in towns like us.
It is. When I first started here, that seemed high to me, but but my understanding is that just because of different pressure levels and the nature of our water system, that is not uncommon. But it is a loss that has to be.
And that's included in that $500,000 that we produce and the 200,000 we buy from Asheville.
Yes, sir.
We're losing because it's the pipes. You're losing.
That's right. So we're losing 25% of that water.
Yeah. And again, I'd stress that that's not. I'm not pointing it out to say that it's a
No,
problem. It's just a fact of the way our supply works, and fairly common in municipalities in Western North Carolina.
No, and I agree, and I think as the board has made it a priority to upgrade lines that are probably outdated in certain parts of town, and we've made an effort. And I even give you an example. I think on when we did when they did the repaving for State Street and Highway 70 a few years ago, and Jamie's crews replaced all those taps. There were a lot of water leaks there that we never would have found. They never came to the top. We may find that again when we do the work on Cherry Street. We may find taps that have leaked for years but have never risen to the level of.
So what we're saying though, in the summer months when we have more people in town, in the community,
yes,
visitors, that we're hitting capacity at that 700,000 a day number because of the 500,000 we're producing and the 200,000 we're buying.
We find
we're
that
kind of capping it out.
As Jamie and I'm sorry, Jamie, you please.
Talking about the water loss, something I've learned too, there's some variables to it, like if the meter reader reads, we've had a hard winter, cold weather, he reads the meter today and it's not leaking, and let's say it gets a leak tomorrow, then you got a whole month cycle that goes through that's leaking before he reads it again. And if you remember several reports back, it don't take a very big leak to lose massive amounts of water. And I can say it's either last month or the month before, because of some of the changes we've made, our water loss was only 9%, and that's really good. So I'm hoping within the next year that keeps coming down.
Right. Well, I'm not pointing it out to try to be critical of the water loss. It's just I think what we're trying to understand is our supply needs, and losing some is just part of the supply.
But I would also point out, I'm sorry, Jamie, but I would also want to point out that when Jamie and I discussed it, while it is true these summer months, we're obviously when there's more people here and that demand is hitting its limit. We also hit our limits in January and February when the car washes work extra time because people have there's the salt on the roads, have gotten on their cars, and we've had months when there's harsh winters. We also some of those months have actually been very hard on us in terms of peaking, and so really. While I point out the months where I know that where we know that tourism is the highest and the demand is the highest, there are months in the middle of the winter that are hard months. I think that would be very.
This was one of them. I was going to say our biggest tank was the lowest this year I've ever seen it since I've been here in 11 years. And what it was.
Point being made is that we're at capacity. It's just a way to put it.
Where we cut the valve on with Asheville. This year we was having to call them, and we call it the big pumps, but it's their biggest pumps, and we're like, hey, can we run the big pumps? Of course, they let us run it through the night when everybody's asleep and in the bed, and then it helps fill the tank up overnight. But you got 3 car washes in town, and they're just lined up day and night, running consistently, and it's a massive amount of water we lose during that.
But I think your point is well taken. Is that we are bumping up against our capacity, and so to make the point, what the EDA and the Golden Leaf Grant will do is be able to establish a pump station at the existing public services facility, which will move to our new building, but we will still own that site, and we'll have to make arrangements. That is the connection between the town of Black Mountain and the city of Asheville, and it has the potential, of course, to generate initially 750,000 gallons a day. So that's already, you can tell that's double what we're already doing.
It's in addition to our
That's in addition
$500,000.
to what we've got.
Yeah.
So, plus, frankly, that's a matter of how long the pumps run, and so. I guess does that look like water? What is that? Those are the bubbles from water. But it actually can generate twice that because it's a matter of how often you turn the pumps on and how much the pumps run and how much capacity there is. So you'll see in the front of you'll see in everybody's packet you have a map of water line, and in the front, there's a picture of the water lines, and I'm going to just walk you through briefly what that means. So what we'd like to be able to do, and just so the public knows and you all are reminded, our goal tonight is to generate questions. Lisa's questions are valid, and so we should get answers to those questions. Any questions that the board has, we'd like to have this on the May 14th agenda for approval. Asheville intends to have this on their May 15th agenda for approval, and we would like to accommodate that. But if you look on your map and you look on the picture in the front, you'll see green lines, which are lines that are currently Asheville's lines, and red lines, which would be the lines that we would do in phase 2 of this. So what will happen is, when this pump station is built later in the fall, we will take over the lines along 70, Blue Ridge Road, some of the side roads there that go with about 300 customers that go with that system, and then the next section will be 1 year later. Will be the part that moves up Hiawassee around the golf course, around Allen Mountain, and those lines, and we'll take over both those sections. It's around 600 customers. It's around 13 miles of lines. They will become our customers. We currently charge around, I think, excuse me, Dean run the numbers on this. For if you use 5,000 gallons a month, you will pay around $1 less to have Black Mountain water as opposed to Asheville water. So I would call it marginal savings, but it's but it's certainly comparable for customers. They'll pay slightly less money to be switched over. There will be expenses. I want to be clear. There are expenses with the grant that put in the pump station, and that really was the sticking point for, I don't know, 25 years, Ron. It's been is who pays to make this connection to Asheville. Does Black Mountain pay or does Asheville pay? And we fought about it for 20 years. We said you should do it, and they said we should do it. Well, now a grant is going to do it, and so we're fortunate that in addition to the fact that an industry is going to create 550 jobs in the Swananoa Valley, we're fortunate that it also creates a pump station that creates the connection that eliminates the point of contention between the two communities and creates an opportunity for these lines to be transferred. And so half the lines will be transferred by the end of this year, or that's our goal, by January 1st of 2019, December 31st, 2018, however, whatever that date is. And 1 year from that point forward will be the additional lines. There will be some connections made, so there will be an investment by the town. I don't want to, and I think that's what you had mentioned, some of the things when they had said in the language about cost. There are additional costs as we go forward. There are costs to replace valves. There's cost to transfer to switch one line to switch lines from one community from Asheville to Black Mountain. Those are costs that will be built into the system, and they have to be paid for spread out across the water, the base of the water customers. But those are all capital investments that we'll need to make in the next 2 to 3 years to make that work.
We have an idea of approximately what that is?
I think so. I think around $400,000. Yeah.
Well, I would add too, in part of the discussion, it is worth noting that the water fund is a healthy fund. It's viable. It's a standalone. I think everybody understands it's a standalone fund and operates as a business unto itself, so to speak. But it's Dean, you could maybe speak to it if there's anything to say. But it's a very solid fund balance, and and it can probably, I think, our water fund can absorb the cost certainly sufficiently that we see coming down the.
And certainly, I don't want to. Yeah, if Dean wants to speak on it, that's fine. But with 600 additional customers, and I would point out that these customers, we're also in the early stages of transferring over to automatic meters that are read electronically, and these already have those in place. So I think there may be some changes that have to take place. But the types of meters that we're purchasing are the same meters that are already in the ground for Asheville. So in terms of the efficiency of the services, we should be at the same level as we transition. I guess my point there is that customers shouldn't notice a difference in the level of service. As a matter of fact, I think, and that's just speaking on behalf of our crews, in terms of response time, I think they will see a higher level of service at roughly the same amount of cost.
So will we start that work sometime soon to bring that first group of customers on in January or so?
Well, it really depends almost entirely on this pump station. So as that goes forward, that determines this phase one, which is the green lines that you see that run out to Cragmont, they run a little down 70, and they run out Blue Ridge Road, and some of those. That depends entirely on the pump station, and we're getting ready to go out to bid for that project. When that's done, those lines can be transferred. As a matter of fact, to put the pump station online, those lines will have to be transferred.
Did I not understand it well, and maybe I misunderstood in a prior discussion, that there was a good bit of work, a good bit of engineering work that needed to be done to bring those lines on?
Oh, yes, but that work has been done for those initial lines, and for most of the lines. The engineering work is really not where our capital expense is going to be. The capital expense is going to be in the valves and the cut-ins to connect our system to their system and have a way to monitor that. So it's not. A lot of the engineering work is tied up in the large link between Asheville and Black Mountain, and that is the design work that EDA and Golden Leaf are doing are paying for.
But we still have to do some work, as you said, valves and the linkage.
And there'll be additional, and that'll be on us.
And that's the 400,000.
Yes, and that's built into that cost.
Well, that's my question. When are we starting to work on that?
Not until this part is bid out and this is ready to go for the first phase, and then we'll start the second phase as we go forward. So it'll be late fall, early spring of next year before the next phase is ready to be engineered and designed and ready to go.
The first phase has already been engineered.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
I guess that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. The first phase has been engineered and designed and ready to go. So that is the first. So that's what will happen between now and the end of this calendar year, and then the next, and then
So it's
we
only
overlap with the engineering. I agree.
Right.
But the actual work won't start till next year.
And so it's only that second phase that's going to cost $400,000.
Yes, sir. Oh, yes, because the other costs are built into the grant.
Mm-hmm.
Matt, if you can, explain to us as far as future planning for the town. Once this is done and it's completed and we've taken over all of these lines, future growth, which is something this board has been looking at for years now, how long are we going to be covered with the anticipated future growth of this town?
With the additional 750,000 gallons a day, our estimation is somewhere between 28 to 30 years of, and I would say that's a conservative number because that uses a growth trend. Dean, you correct me if I'm wrong on this, but that uses a growth trend from the last 5 years. I don't know that trend.
It can't keep going.
Pretty steep.
But let's say that it does. That's what's built in to the growth that we have currently. I mean, to the capacity that we have.
Right. And we've had some discussions about that, and the reason that we, and I jump in because I know you guys spent a lot more time on this, but we have discussed it before. But we stayed with the steeper growth trend for the past 5 years because it would only take one or two large businesses to make a change in it. So you can't really just look at. I mean, you got to kind of plan for the
That's right.
unknown, so to speak.
And it does plan for the full, and that includes the full build out of the Commerce Park. So it does. So it includes the full build out of the Commerce Park, plus the additional customers that we would be taking on, plus a growth rate consistent with what we have been doing.
Right.
So I do feel like, and I know why you asked the question, because what you're going to say is why don't we ask for 1.5 million gallons per day if that's what we can, if that's what the city can generate. And the answer is you can do that, and that would I think. And Ron and I were talking about this earlier, and I think Lisa's question or Lisa's point earlier is valid. what happens is you have to pay a fee to the city, a flat fee for access. And I'm going to find it, but it doesn't matter that much off the top of my head. I can tell you that currently we buy 200,000 gallons a day, and we pay, I don't know, $3,500 a month, something like that. If you want it in fixed fees, plus you pay for what you buy. That's what the difference here is. We want 750,000 gallons a day. We may want 1.5 million gallons a day. We may want all the water that Asheville can give us, and they have a formula here to sell us 1.5 million gallons a day, or 750,000 gallons a day, or 300,000 gallons a day. But there's a flat fee that's built into that, and that I think that's the question, and I think there is a question about this. I would like us to start at 300,000 gallons a day, because that's what we need right now. We need 300. We need
in addition to the two we're buying.
We need additional to what we're buying. And what we're producing. We need 300,000 gallons a day of capacity. Ultimately, we're going to need all that water, but I don't want to pay the 750,000 gallons a day now because I don't have a customer.
Yeah, I can understand that.
That.
But let me clarify. When you say we need 300,
okay.
We're already getting 200.
Yes.
Are we asking for an additional 100?
Additional 100. Yes, I'm sorry. Additional 100 on top of that to start with. Now I do anticipate that when a bottom is online, and that when if a new industry comes, or as regular growth transpires, we will continue to go up. And the way the agreement reads is that if you use more than your allotted capacity for, I think, 3 months in a row, then they have the right to adjust it. That is fine. I do agree that maybe the language of this is not quite strong enough on protecting our 750,000 gallons per day. Now, the one way you can protect it is you can buy it, and right now we pay $3,680 a month as a flat fee, and then we pay per gallon or per 1,000 gallons. You can pay $13,800 a month, and we'll have all the 750,000 gallons. That's an additional $120,000 a year. I'd like this to find between now and May 14th a way, and I didn't think the language was a good starting point. They acknowledge that we're going to buy the 750,000 gallons, but they also say if they don't have it, we may not get it. And that's the language we have to get. That's the language we have to clarify, in my opinion.
Well, I think we have to think, over the next month, I think we have to think pretty seriously about, and maybe it's not making the commitment for that. What do you want to call it? A deposit or whatever. There's a word that doesn't quite come to mind. But that fee that you're paying that says we're locking in. This is our 750. Maybe we don't need to lock into all 750, but we certainly might want to lock into more than 100,000. I mean, if we're close to capacity now, 100,000.
Well, 100,000
that commitment, and you have a bottom that's coming in another year to 18 months.
And we only need 30 days to either way. We can't go. We've taken out the language that says you can go down now. We can only go up, which is fine.
There's two ways you increase it. It's by usage. It gets increased automatically by a formula.
Yes.
But you can also just say
we want to.
You give them 30 days notice, and
say we want to go up.
And I think as long as in the agreement, we might want to set forth some. I mean, the reason we have the grant is because of the Avadum project. It seems to me you might want to get that usage in there in the document itself.
Well, and I think there should be. I think what we can probably do, and Asheville's been open to this. There's just some triggers that are that just are time triggers that just say, hey, look, in a year you got to buy more, and in 4 years you got to buy more. And we can, and so that they, and then they'll have a comfort level saying, we know you're going to buy this water. I think their concern, I don't want to speak for Asheville, is, what if you just want 300,000, and that's really what you want, then why are we reserving 750? Now they do recognize the 750,000. And I agree with Don. We could recognize 1.5 million, but only if they actually reserve it for us, not if they're just going to recognize it.
Well, am I not right in thinking that the Avadum project it's 350,000 gallons that they want, that they're saying that they could use when they get to capacity.
It was 225.
225?
225.
But that's 225 that's budgeted there.
Yes.
So, that's 18 months out. So we got some pretty
Well,
big
and I think
numbers.
they're- I think
Then
they're-
then if
they're
you only
timeline
have
on
any other businesses that go into the Commerce Park and so forth, and if you have Montreat College that builds a
if-
campus,
yes.
on their Black Mountain campus and so forth.
Well, I think it's something, I agree, I think it's something to consider then, is whether you want to go ahead and lock in the higher number, or. but
Well,
I
not
agree, I think what
tonight,
you-
but we need to think about it.
But I think what you're saying,
We
what you're
do.
saying is maybe find some middle ground where we say, hey, we'll pay something to reserve this.
I can't speak for the rest of the board,
Sure.
but I'd like to consider locking in to what we can afford to lock in on and what's reasonable.
Yes.
It's just something more than 100,000, I think.
It is, and I think, they'll lock in whatever number you.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever
No, I
number you
understand.
pick, but you have to pay, and I'm just trying to.
And
to-
maybe
I'm trying to phase that.
and maybe there's some prudence in paying. We have to remember it gets built into what we do. We don't want to be foolish about it. We also don't want to be foolish about
Yes.
about the importance of reserving our water supply and locking it in.
And that's really the importance of this conversation tonight, is for you all to think about whether, if you want to lock it in, there are different levels we can lock in, there's different discussions we can have, and we've got a month to
Mr. Mayor, I'm not trying to close the discussion down because it's an important one, but I am sort of thinking that it might be wise to have a workshop to make sure that we're all on the same page, and maybe make it later in the afternoon so that the public can attend a little bit easier than the early morning meetings, but maybe at 4:30 or 5 one day, and just have another maybe perhaps hour or so workshop.
Okay.
And revisit some of these things, because I would personally, and I'd be curious what the rest of the board wants, but I'd certainly like for you to explore, you and the town attorney, to explore some language that allows us to lock in to
why don't we,
a sum a little bit.
why don't we invite some of the folks from Asheville? And
I think that'd be great.
It doesn't have to be elected officials, but it can be,
Yeah.
the staff that knows how
It'd be great.
how the numbers work, and that way they can say, yes, we can do this, or no, that we've never done that before.
I think it'd be great.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know how the rest of the board feels, but I think it'd be a good idea.
You want to put that in the form of a motion?
If you need that, but I'll be glad.
I don't think we do. What do you think we need with Angela? I don't think we do.
Well,
Okay.
if that's the consensus of the board, we'll work that out.
Are you all right with that?
We'll get you some dates and you're thinking late afternoon, that kind of works better for.
I think the public might be a little more
Got it.
apt to
Yes.
want to come at 4:30 or 5 o'clock, something like that.
Everybody loves to come at 4:30. We will,
Let me have you clarify, since you're talking about a bottom. As far as the actual product that they make, is there anything about that product that's hazardous or dangerous in any way?
no, and I had a discussion with Josh Montgomery. He's their VP of operations, he's come to Rotary and some different different civic clubs and spoken around town. And what they make is a topical solution, a cleaning solution for your skin. So there's nothing that they make that is toxic. There's nothing that they do more than it. And he told me this because I asked him specifically what I could say, and he said we don't have anything more at our facility in the cleaning supplies that any commercial industry would have. There's nothing in the production of what they make that is more toxic than the cleaning supplies they use to clean up after themselves. So the production of it is a clean product that's there to serve the purpose of sanitizing hospitals and the products that they provide. But there's nothing that they do. Certainly, I would point out that, and Larry's been in these discussions too. They have been heavily involved with the federal government and with the Army Corps and with all the permitting that is involved in their site for for wetlands and the river and access to the Swananoa River, that their permitting level is as high as any piece of property that we've seen. I think that's fair to say.
Okay. Anything else on the water agreement?
And can I ask a question? So what we're doing, and what we want to accomplish in May so that we can move forward with all of it, is we have an agreement to transfer this water distribution system, the Asheville lines to us and so forth. Comes in 2 phases, all that sort of thing. And we haven't really talked a lot about the detail of that, but I think in the agenda meeting, the town attorney, it's still some things you want to work through on that, aren't there?
Minor just wording, the one issue, it just says the town will bear all costs. I'd like to have that defined a little. Obviously, we've got the bulk of it anyway.
Right.
And the other was the language, and that they have this thing where we'll, once we got it, rusty pipes and all. And that paragraph looks a little broad, and I've asked the city attorney, we need some language in there. We don't want to take on your other liabilities that might pass forward.
Right.
If the system has flooded a basement or caused somebody harm or personal injury, we don't want it to sound like we took that on too.
Right, that sounds good. So we have the agreement that we hope to handle next month. The agreement to transfer those lines to the town of Black Mountain. We'll take those 600 customers, and then that agreement references the water supply agreement, which comes in the form of the second amendment to the water purchase agreement.
That's exactly right. So you've got an agreement that transfers the water lines in the 2 phases. The first phase with the pump station, and the second phase around Allen Mountain and those lines. And they all reference the water purchase agreement, which we already have in place, a water purchase agreement. It amends that. And that's really the question that we're going to try to drill down on is, we know how much water we ultimately would like to have capacity for. Asheville knows how much water they ultimately can provide capacity for. We need a mechanism to get there, and that's what that agreement may not be sufficient to do currently. Although I think we're all on the same page. I think the question is, why can't attorneys write this so that it just makes sense to everybody? That's the question.
Well, we want the capacity without having to pay for all of it long before we actually use it.
And that's
kind of strike a happy medium.
somewhere in the middle, and that's what I think. I think that's what you with this workshop. I'd like to focus mostly on that, because I think the other portions are really. I mean, I agree. I agree with Ron that he's got language that needs to be clarified. I don't think I think that can be clarified. The issue really is what triggers the additional water capacity, and how do we and who pay, and how do we pay for that, and when do we pay for it?
Anything else?
So, Matt, one thing that I would like to see before we vote on this in May, and this does not have to come to the board, but this should come to you and Jamie. I would like to know, especially in phase 2 to be transferred, since we've had pressure issues in that area with our own existing lines and had to put reducers on it. If the city of Asheville will disclose any improvements or any issues in that particular area that we're looking at on top of just our valve replacement.
Okay.
I don't think that's unreasonable considering what we're taking on. I assume, I'm not going to be amazed when they say they've done nothing to these lines. But I do think we need to know exactly what it is on these lines that we're buying, and that if it doesn't come directly to us, it needs to be you and Jamie.
That's fine. I think they're providing information on that, so yes. But I'll make sure that we have that. Yes.
Well, there's some language in the agreement that says all the engineering things and all that sort of thing, they'll transfer to us whatever they have on the date of the agreement.
But
and I'm sure they'll do it before then.
They will do it. They will do it before then. As a matter of fact, they've done some of that for us. But we'll get some more detail there. Especially, is that your concern? Is more the older section around Chapel Road, and that area there?
Okay. That's been a trouble area for us.
We have already obtained their GIS of their water lines and what they are, what size, and age, and that stuff. We already have.
All right.
So, but we'll get as much detail as we can get on all the system, and make sure that we're on the same page. We'll do that.
Anything else? Hearing nothing else, let's go on to B, approval of the 2018-19 rates for Flat Mountain Golf Course.
Okay, let's get in, okay, something fine. As you're aware, we generally do adjustments of fees with the budget that passes in July, but the golf course, of course, ramps up its operations more in April and May, and so we've tried in the last few years to make some adjustments to the rates earlier in the spring to go into effect on May the 1st, and so we have proposed some adjustments to the annual passes. A family rate, currently the 2017 rates are $1,150 for a family pass. We propose $1,300 for a family pass. Individual 7-day is at $850. We propose $950. An individual 5-day is at $750. We propose $850. The two portions of the proposal that we think are most critical are that we add a walking fee of $5 per round if you play before 11 o'clock on weekdays. We already require that you can't walk on weekends. So we just did that a couple of years ago.
That's before 1, right?
Before 12, I think.
12.
But and you can't and you have to take a cart that you can't walk at all, right? So we're saying you can walk, but you get to pay a $5 fee. That's just for the people with the annual pass, because otherwise that's built into your cost of you're paying your greens fee if you're just somebody coming to play, and then you can walk at the regular greens fees that you see on your rate schedule. Just I think what we're trying to do. Those are the prime times for where we feel like that there's the most demand for the golf course, and we'd like for people to ride and pay the greens fees in the time that we've found that has the most demand, to try to help with the revenues for a golf course that really is set up as an enterprise fund and is designed to be run like a business and is designed to pay for itself. And this is an effort this is not an effort to punish anyone. It's an effort to give people the option to walk, but also to encourage people to ride carts at the time that we find the most, or that the golf course, and especially Brent finds and Dean find that this is the time that most people, the highest demand is for this time. It also creates, which I think is a great idea. I give all the credit to Brent and Dean for this. Is the players discount pass, which is a you pay. We've got it at $200 to buy the pass, and then you have to ride a cart, but you play at a discounted rate for when you play. So you pay $200 up front, but you get a discounted rate as you play throughout the year, and it gives people a different another option between buying a full annual pass and playing your golf to try to fill in the cost of those rates, or just paying your regular rack rates and your cart fees. It's an in between of those, which gives people an option to purchase a pass and get a discounted rate. And so we're hoping that also will generate some more demand for the course. We generate about 20,000 rounds a year, and we average $25 a round. We need to average more money per round, and we need more rounds. So this is our effort to accommodate that. We do think that the fee for walking and the players pass are important components of that, and we hope that that's. And if there's any questions, I'll try to answer them, but I will certainly defer to Brent and Dean on real questions. I'll explain walking. Oh, why? Because you didn't know.
For non-golfers.
Okay, so for non-golfers, because Angela asked me, you got to pay a fee just to walk on the golf course? No. This is a fee for people who are playing golf, but don't want to ride a cart and still carry their bag and still play golf. So it's not a fee if you walk on the course. We actually have an ordinance that prohibits walking on the course. But if you do walk on the golf course, that's not who this is designed for. This is designed for people who want to play golf but don't want to take a cart. And so that's who we're trying to move towards move those people to different times of the day to make it more efficient for the people that actually want to ride carts at the most highest demand times of the day.
I will drive the cart.
I think I appreciate y'all's work on it, Brent and Dean. It's, I think, it's important, and Maggie would have a lot more insight into it than I do, but it's important to me for the golf community to understand and know that we want to do everything we can to run an efficient business as best we can. And if you look at the rates, which you all handed out, and I guess are in the agenda packet, we are, we're strongly competitive as far as our fees in the area. As a matter of fact, are we the lowest? Basically, you could say that by far, really. And so we need to do whatever we can do to bring in the rounds and so forth. And Maggie can speak to it better than I do because I am an afternoon walker. But if you're out in the morning, you want it to move quickly, and you want the carts out there, and that's what good golfers like Maggie are looking for.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the 2018-19 rate schedule for Black Mountain Golf Course as presented?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to, when I think about it, in fact, I asked Matt this earlier, when we took the golf course back over, when the town took it back over, which has been 4 years, we think at least 4 years. We think at least 4 years, no more than 5, I don't think. And I think about when we started, and Matt coming in as the new manager, and Dean, and they'd never managed a golf course before, so we formed a golf advisory committee. We weren't about to turn them loose on their own. And we did that, a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden we noticed they didn't need us anymore. And they really have taken it on as an enterprise. And I am so proud of what has happened. The condition of the course has just come really around very much. And I have to give thanks to Matt, and the fact that he turned it over to Dean was a good move, and Brent being here has done a great job, and of course Jerry, our green superintendent. I tell you, everybody, we're getting the bang for our buck, what we're getting there. And I will say this, I have had so few complaints about what's going on there. The big complaint are the geese.
I got a plan.
Oh, well, I keep hearing that, but I won't. But I will say, and one thing that makes me feel really good, I see younger people out there playing. Not my, I'm a dying breed, that's for sure. And seeing the younger players out, and so many out, and younger children, it really is encouraging.
And it's still such an asset for this town. And I think it's going well. And like I say, I don't get too many complaints at all. So I'm very pleased and very thankful to Matt and Dean and Brent for your leadership. It's worked really well. Good teamwork.
So, anyone else?
Yeah, just briefly. Brent, or Maggie, you may want to answer this too. Just curious, I know, and I'm glad you mentioned this about the condition of the golf course. Mm-hmm. With this change in the policy with the walking fee, Brent, do you think that'll have some benefit on keeping the course in good condition over the entire golf season?
I don't think it'll hinder it or hurt it or help it. It's gonna. The people walking out there aren't hurting it, and the carts aren't hurting it. Really, we're just trying to drive that prime time revenue from 7:30 in the morning until 11. And we're not trying to push anybody out of those times, but make as much money as we can when
Well, again, I'm not a golfer, and I don't make any bones about it. But I noticed that as I drive by, I see that it's often watered in the morning and things like that, and I didn't know, the play of people walking through.
Now, we do that to prevent disease.
Okay.
If you water through the night, you're more susceptible to disease. So we
Okay.
do that early in the morning.
All right.
There's method to the madness.
Obviously, I learned. I don't know.
You can drop her off.
Well,
We'll drop together.
Yeah.
Anyone else? We have a motion. All in favor? Oh, we did? Yep.
did,
All right.
okay.
We're good. Do we have any communication from the town attorney?
I have nothing this month.
Matt, and I want to ask you to address in your comments, there seems to be some confusion on the I-40 interchange ramp as far as trucks. And some of the comments that you made at the last board meeting, and somehow that got someone come up with the idea that we're not going to be able to stop trucks from coming through the town of Black Mountain, which is true. They've got a right, that's a state road. But would you elaborate on that for me?
I appreciate a moment there, Mr. Mayor. If you recall, we had Christina Solberg here from DOT talking about the interchange and Blue Ridge Road, and Carlos had asked the question, could the town restrict truck traffic through the middle of town? And she had said, there were two parts. She had deferred to the division traffic engineer because she wasn't sure, but she had also had said that most of the Ingalls trucks would be diverted by a new interchange. And then I had spoken up, and maybe I should have just let it go, but we had talked about this in the past about truck routes, and I had pointed out that because State Street is also Highway 70, you could not restrict truck traffic on that road. That was put in the paper saying that there would be no restriction on truck traffic downtown. They left out half of what I said. The other half of what I said was that the interchange will have that same effect on that traffic. And I think I pointed out too, and that the project will have an impact on traffic. And Larry, actually much more eloquently than I did, I took a longer time to say it, pointed out that the trucks will take the most efficient route, and using the exchange would be the most efficient route down the mountain. So the entire context of the exchange was, could we restrict trucks from using 70 at all? The answer was, no, you can't restrict that, but the interchange, in effect, does that. And so those were the two parts to the statement, and half of the statement was, no, you can't restrict trucks from going downtown, and the other half was, the interchange will create that circumstance where trucks will get off and get on 40, and I think, and Larry also pointed that out, and I think others have pointed that out too.
Well, I think there was also one other, perhaps this was a letter to the mayor and to the board, just a comment that the work on the exchange wasn't needed, nor any of the improvements, because you can already ride your bike to Black Mountain or whatever, and that is true, you can. But I think the point is that a lot of the work that's going to be done with the exchange ties into the Greenway, especially Phase 2. It ties into a lot of the planning that's going into place, and it's going to be a more walkable community because of it. I would want, we're going to have a lot of discussion in the community about Blue Ridge Road over the next several years. We've already had a lot, but we will continue to have it. And I don't think, I don't think it's terribly fruitful, and maybe it's even a little unkind to, and I don't think I've tried to do this or anyone else, to try to tell folks they live in a part of the community where there's going to be change, that it's okay. It's just going to work well for them. No one likes that kind of change. No one does in their community and where they live. It's hard. Some people are going to have their property taken for the road, and I think it's fair to say that no one likes to have their property taken for a road anywhere, any place. I-40 wouldn't be here if that process wasn't in place, or we wouldn't have roads to drive on, very many, if you didn't have that process in place. It is not pleasant for the people who are involved, and I think what we all really want to do is to make sure that the people in the Blue Ridge community know and understand that. We're not trying to say don't worry about it. It's going to be okay. That's not easy to absorb when you live there. I do think that some of this change is inevitable, and for those of us who are on the board, and not just us, but people have gone before us, I think it is essential for the well-being of the community over the next 20, 30, 40, and even beyond that. We're talking economic growth in that area, but we're also just talking traffic flow that people in town are already and have been not pleased with for years. So, I hope that makes some sense. But if there's the continual back and forth that no, we don't need it because we already have what we need on Blue Ridge Road, that's not really the argument. We know it's not comfortable for folks to make a change, but the argument is that there are some things that will be a benefit in the long run, and that I think when it's all said and done, there'll be some attributes to it. But I don't think anybody's trying to do a sales job on the folks who are directly impacted with the project. It is what it is.
You done?
I am. That's all I have.
All right, communications from the board.
I guess I've already done mine.
All right.
I did want to remind the board of our budget workshop on Thursday, April the 19th at 8:30 in the morning. So I hope everybody's got that on their calendar, and I'll remind the public of that so that anybody that wants to come and listen to numbers, we will have them.
We can't wait.
I know, April the 19th.
Let me just add a little bit to what Larry and Matt has said as far as the truck situation. Everything you said is true. It's a state road. You cannot stop the trucks from coming. But I've worked in the trucking industry for 46 years in various different positions, and I can tell you that if they've got an exit ramp that's down there closer to Ingalls, where most of this freight is coming in and out of, they're not going to drive and take the scenic tour through the town of Black Mountain with a big rig. It's just not going to happen. So,
As long as they don't use the GPS. You got to be careful. They will take you those ways sometimes.
Trust me, 90% of those guys are delivering there on a regular basis. They've got certain runs that they make, and the minute they're going to be jumping up and down for joy the minute they get the interstate ramp is open. So they won't be relying on the GPS. 90% of them. I'm not going to say it's 100% foolproof, because there are going to be some of those instances, but truck traffic in downtown Black Mountain is going to be greatly reduced when it happens. Trust me. Anything else? With that, meeting adjourned.